Hello students, this is your maths teacher. Welcome you all in my online classes for class 10th mathematics, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel Power of Mathematics by Pooja Garg. So students, today we will do revision of chapter number 1 real numbers and chapter number 2 polynomials, in which we are going to discuss some basic concepts and important questions related to these chapters. I hope you will learn all these concepts. So students, let's start with the chapter number 1, real numbers. And you know this thing, under this chapter we have total 4 topics, that is decimal expansion of rational numbers, Euclid's division algorithm, fundamental theorem of arithmetic, proof based on irrational numbers. But out of these 4 we are going to discuss only these 3 topics, as you know Euclid's division lemma has been deleted from your syllabus. So let us discuss first of all fundamental theorem of arithmetic, which says that if any integer greater than 1 is either a prime number or can be expressed as a product of prime numbers, and this factorization is unique except for the order in which the prime factors occurs. Here one more theorem we have: if p is a prime number and a is a positive integer such that p divides a square, then p divides a. Here you know, using this fundamental theorem of arithmetic, we learn how to find HCF and LCM of two numbers with prime factorization method. For that, you know the steps: factorize the given numbers, means find the prime factors. Then to find the HCF, first of all we have to collect all the common prime factors with the least exponent, means smallest power. To find the LCM, we have to collect common and uncommon prime factors with the greatest exponent, means the highest power. So let's see one example. Here you can observe in this example we have to find the LCM and HCF of 60 and 108 by prime factorization method. So first what we will do, we will find the prime factors of both the numbers. Then for HCF we will find the common prime factors. So here 2 and 3, and find the least power, means smallest power. So here power of 2 is 2, least one, and here 3 power 1 is the least one. Here HCF is what? 2 into 2 into 3, that is 12. Same way for LCM we will take common and uncommon factor, means 2, 3 and 5. Now we will see the greatest exponent. For 2 greatest exponent is 2, for 3 greatest exponent is 3, and for 5 greatest exponent is 1. So here just you multiply, means 2 power 2 into 3 raised to the power 3 into 5 raised to the power 1. So when you solve you will get answer as 540. I hope this concept is clear to you. Now students, I will discuss the relationship between HCF and LCM of two numbers. As you know, the product of two numbers is equals to HCF of those numbers into LCM of those numbers. Now you can see one example based on it. HCF of two numbers is 12 and LCM is 72. If one number is 24, you have to find other number. So let the other number be x. Now use this relation and substitute the values. After solving you will get x as 36. It means the other number is 36. So here we can use this relationship to find the unknown. One more example based on fundamental theorem of arithmetic, and again an important question. Check whether the number 7 raised to the power n can end with the digit 0 for any natural number n. And how to solve? For 7 raised to the power n to end with 0, it must have factors 5 and 2, means 10. It means it should be, we can say that 7 power n is equals to 10 into q for q, some integer q, or we can say that 2 into 5 into q. But here we can observe the prime factors of 7 is 1 and 7 only. But according to fundamental theorem of arithmetic, prime factorization of each number is unique, means 7 raised to the power n cannot have 10 as a factor. So we can say that 7 raised to the power n cannot end with the digit 0 for any natural number n. So please do proper practice related to this concept. Now students, next concept is related to decimal expansion of real numbers. As you know, real number is a collection of rationals and irrational numbers. Rational numbers means the numbers which can be expressed in p by q form, where p and q are co-primes and integers and q is not equals to 0, where irrational numbers cannot express in the form of p by q. where p and q are integers and q is not equals to 0. As you know, decimal expansion of real numbers basically are of two types, that is terminating and non-terminating. And in non-terminating also we have two different types, that is recurring decimal expansion and non-recurring decimal expansion. So if the decimal expansion of any real number is terminating or non-terminating recurring decimal expansion, then it is a rational number, and the decimal expansion of any real number is non-terminating and non-recurring decimal expansion, then it is said to be irrational numbers. I hope this is clear to you. Now students, we will discuss about decimal expansion of rational numbers, right? So under this, you know, for any rational number p by q, where q is not equals to 0 and p and q are prime numbers, then if the prime factors of denominator is in the form of 2 raised to the power m into 5 raised to the power n, where m and n are non-negative integers, then particular rational number is having terminating decimal expansion. And if q is not equals to in this form 2 raised to the power m into 5 raised to the power n, then we can say that the decimal expansion of that particular rational number is what? Non-terminating repeating decimals. Now here we can see some examples. So here the very first example, you can observe the prime factors of denominator in the rational number 15 upon 1600 is what? 2 raised to the power 6 into 5 raised to the power 2. So here you can observe the denominator is in this form. So we can observe that this number is having terminating decimal expansion. Same way we have some more examples of terminating decimal expansion. So you can observe in both the examples. Now you will see the example related to non-terminating repeating decimal expansion. Here you can observe in this number the prime factors of denominator as 2 into 3 into 5, which is not in this form, you can observe. So it means the decimal expansion of this particular number, that is 77 upon 210, is what? Non-terminating repeating decimal expansion. Same way you can observe this example as well, and I hope this concept is also clear to you. Now students, we will discuss a most important concept from this chapter, that is how to prove root 2 as irrational numbers. You know very well we used to prove by contradiction method. So basically here we have to just follow 3 simple steps. The very first one is let this under root 2 as a rational number, that is a upon b, where a and b are co-prime. Now what we will do, just do cross multiplication, you will get b under root 2 is equals to a. Do squaring both side. After squaring both side, what you will get? 2 into b square is equals to a square, which implies b square is equals to a square upon 2, which gives a square divides by 2. So we can say that a is divided by 2 also. Now the second step is what? We will just substitute a as 2m, where m is any positive integer, and b square is equals to a square upon 2 from this equation. Now substitute the value of a as 2m. So what we will get? B square is equals to 4m square upon 2. After solving, you will get m square is equals to b square upon 2, which shows b square is divisible by 2. It means b is also divisible by 2. Now the third step is what? Here, as you know, this is a rational number, means a and b are co-prime. But here we can observe from first step and from second step, a is divisible by 2 as well as b is divisible by 2. So here our assumption that a and b are co-prime, which is wrong. It means it contradicts our fact, or we can say that it contradicts our assumption. Hence we can say that under root 2 cannot be put in the form of a by b. It means under root 2 is irrational number, hence proved. So I guess it's very simple. Actually just you have to follow 3 simple steps to prove these questions. So please do more practice, and let's see next. So here students, these are some important questions from chapter number 1, and it's a request to solve all the questions, and if you have any doubt, any queries related to the solutions, please attend your WebEx session and ask your queries. So I hope you will try all these questions and ask your doubts. Students, here one more set of questions for chapter number 1, which again you have to attempt all these questions and solve each question is important for examination point of view. So keep on practicing. Next we will do the concepts related to chapter number 2, which is polynomial. Now student, we will discuss the concepts related to chapter number 2, polynomials. As you know, polynomial means a polynomial is an algebraic expression having 2 or more terms, and the standard form of this polynomial is this, and where we can observe that a1, a2, a3, these are the real numbers or the coefficients of variables, and x is a variable in this polynomial, and n should be a positive number, means it should be a non-negative integer, or I simply say that it's a whole number. If it is negative or in fraction, then it's not a polynomial. Next is degree. The highest power of variable is known as its degree. Now the polynomial classification based on terms. As we know, we have 3 types, that is monomial, binomial and trinomial, which you have already studied in earlier classes as well. But in this class, we'll study about the classification of polynomial based on degree. So the very first one is constant polynomial. So a polynomial with degree 0 is said to be constant polynomial, and a into x raised to the power 0 is the standard form where a is not equals to 0. Same way, second is linear, means a polynomial with degree 1, and its standard form is ax plus b where a is not equals to 0. Third is quadratic polynomial, means a polynomial with degree 2, and the standard form is ax square plus bx plus c where a is not equals to 0. And the fourth one is cubic polynomial, means polynomial with degree 3, right? And its standard form is ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d where a is not equals to 0. And here you can observe this a, b, c, d, all these are real numbers in the polynomial. I hope this is clear to you. Now students, next concept is zeros of the polynomial. So here a real number alpha is a zero of polynomial fx if and only if f at alpha is equals to 0. And to find the zero of the polynomial fx means we have to solve the polynomial equation fx is equals to 0 to get the zeros of the polynomial. So here you can see graphically we can observe that, like here this is a linear graph which intersect x-axis at a point, means how many zeros do we have? Only 1. Same way, second graph you can observe this is a graph for quadratic polynomial, means here you can observe this U shapes. This U shape, you know that it's a parabola shape which intersect x-axis at 2 different points, means how many zeros? 2 zeros. Same way, third figure also, here it intersects x-axis at 3 different points, means number of zeros how many? 3. Yeah, so here we have to remember these concepts. The zero of the polynomial means k is said to be 0 if the polynomial px, if p at k is 0. Graph of linear equation is always a straight line. Graph of quadratic polynomial is a parabola, opens upward when a is greater than 0 and open downward when a is less than 0. In general, we can say that the degree of polynomial px crosses the x-axis at most n points. So here you have to remember all the concepts related to zeros of the polynomial. So here you can observe that this is a graph having 6 parts. So you can find now zeros of the polynomial, and it can be asked in 1 marks. Now students, I will discuss the relationship between zeros and coefficients of a polynomial. As you know, the number of zeros depends on the degree of polynomial. So first of all, we have linear polynomial whose general form is ax plus b where a is not equals to 0. So number of zeros be 1. Let it be as k, which is equals to minus b by a, means where b is constant term and a is a coefficient of x. Same way for quadratic, number of zeros 2, let it be as alpha and beta. Sum of the zeros, this is the first relation, that is alpha plus beta is equals to minus b by a, and product of zeros alpha into beta is equals to c by a, where a is coefficient of x square, b is coefficient of x, and c is a constant term. Same way we can say for the cubic polynomial. Cubic polynomial is having 3 number of zeros, that is alpha, beta and gamma. So here we have 3 different relations, that is sum of the zeros alpha plus beta plus gamma, which is equals to minus b by a. Then product of sum of zeros taken 2 at a time, means alpha beta plus beta gamma plus gamma alpha is equals to c by a. And the third relation is product of zeros, that is alpha into beta into gamma, which is equals to minus d by a. Now here you have to note down these points. If alpha beta are the zeros of the polynomial, then quadratic polynomial is given by this expression, that is k bracket x square minus sum of the zeros into x plus product of zeros. Same way we have one for cubic also, that is k bracket x cube minus sum of its zeros into x square plus sum of the product taken 2 at a time into x minus product of its 0, where k is a constant. So you have to remember these two relation, so that while framing the quadratic polynomials or the cubic polynomials, we will apply these expressions. So here you can see one example. In this example, we have to frame a quadratic polynomial whose zeros is 5 and 6. So for this, first of all, we need to find the sum of the zeros, which is 11, product of zeros, which is 30. Now required polynomial is what? X minus sum of the zeros into x plus product of zeros. Substitute the value, you will get x square minus 11x plus 30. As you know, roots and zeros means same, so as such no change. Now one more example where we have to find the zeros, then do verification as well. Again, a very important question from this chapter. So here you can observe this quadratic polynomial as x square minus 2x minus 8. So first you factorize to get two factors. So we got the two factors by using splitting middle term, that is x plus 2 and x minus 4. Now we have to find the zero. So what we will do, we will equate these factors with 0. So when we'll equate x plus 2 is equals to 0, we'll get x as minus 2, and when we'll equate this one to 0, we'll get it as x as 4. So it means these two are the zeros. Let them as alpha and beta. Now verification, let this alpha is minus 2, beta is 4. So according to this relationship, alpha plus beta is equals to minus b upon a. Just substitute the value both the sides. We'll get 2 is equals to 2, hence verified. Same way, product of zeros is equals to constant term divided by coefficient of x square. Substitute the values both the sides. In both the cases you are getting minus 8 means verified. So in this way we can apply these concepts in the questions related to formation of quadratic or the cubic polynomial. I hope this is clear. Now students, these are some practice questions from chapter number 2, polynomials, and I hope you will try all these questions. If you have any doubt or queries, you can ask me by writing in the comment section, or better you attend your WebEx session to clarify your doubts, and I hope this will help you a lot in your exams. Thank you students for watching this video, and I hope all the concepts related to chapter number 1 and 2 clear now, and there will be as such no doubts in this chapters, and please do proper practice to score good marks.